Now, Kendrick Lamar is canceled on Twitter. Have you guys seen some of the backlash Kendrick is receiving on Twitter? He of course dropped his album the other day and has been receiving some backlash for something very specific. Without spoiling this conversation too much, let's talk about it. Now, Kendrick Lamar, as most people know, dropped an album the other day, which I'm going to make a video on soon. But the album is out, and that's kind of crazy to say because the man was gone for 5 years and now he's officially back. That aside, let's talk about this backlash Kendrick is receiving though. You might have heard or seen something about it, but what's going on is this. Kendrick is currently getting cooked over on Twitter for putting Kodak Black on his album. So on this new Kendrick Lamar album, we have an appearance from Kodak Black. Kodak is actually featured on a couple records from this album, one of them being Silent Hill, another one being The Rich Interlude. Aside from that, Kodak is on a project here and there, doing a social commentary / voiceover on it, and Kendrick is getting a bunch of backlash on Twitter for featuring Kodak on his album. Now, why is Kodak Black being featured on here controversial? Well, because Kodak Black is a controversial guy who's been involved in a lot of shit. One specific story that's being brought up as it relates to Kodak Black is the sexual assault / bape, can't say the word, allegations he had against him. Let's go over that story really quickly for some context. Back in 2016, Kodak Black got accused of baping a teenage girl in South Carolina. This incident specifically happened on February 7, 2016, while Kodak was in South Carolina for a show when he allegedly forced himself on this girl. This all allegedly happened inside of a hotel room, by the way. According to the arrest affidavit, he forced the victim onto the bed and onto the floor of the hotel room. Kodak then allegedly removed her underwear and put his, inside of her as she was allegedly telling him to stop. He didn't stop. He allegedly kept going and also allegedly bit her in the neck. Octave, that's Kodak's name, forced the victim onto the bed in a room and then onto the floor of the room. The warrant says the defendant removed the victim's underwear and attacked her orally and then penetrated her. The victim repeatedly told the defendant no and to stop. The defendant, Kodak, did not stop, the warrant says. Police say Octave, potato, also bit the woman on the neck and the chest. A sexual assault kit confirmed the injuries and the woman identified Octave as her attacker, the arrest warrant says. So this all allegedly happened in that hotel room in South Carolina, Florence to be specific. Kodak was 18 at the time for reference, about to turn 19 that summer. As for the girl, I'm actually not sure how old she was, but I do know that she was in high school at the time. How these allegations even came up in the first place, the girl was apparently talking to her school nurse, and that's who she initially reported the crime to. After that is when the police got involved. Kodak was then charged with the crime. He was initially charged with first-degree criminal sexual conduct. In April of 2021, so a little over a year ago, Kodak Black actually ended up pleading guilty in this case. Just to be clear though, he didn't plead guilty to bape. He pled guilty to lesser charges of first-degree assault and battery. In the end, he received an 18-month probation sentence after entering this guilty plea, and he paid a $125 fine and was also ordered to complete counseling. So where exactly does Kendrick Lamar come into the equation? Well, let's check out some of these tweets that have been going crazy on Twitter, and after that, we'll keep on talking. So this first tweet has 10,000 retweets and 57,000 likes, but this is what the person said. Kodak held a minor in a hotel room, baped her, and pled guilty to doing so. So yeah, I'm judging anybody who's fine with being associated with bruh, including Kendrick. This other tweet, which had 12,000 retweets and 66,000 likes, said, rappers will work with Kodak even though he pled guilty to bape. Not defending Kodak, but that's not true. Let's not digress though, I'll speak on that a little later. Rappers will work with Kodak even though he pled guilty to bape, but won't work with Saucy Santana and Lil Nas X because they're gay. So I just want to address this tweet really quickly. First of all, just to fact check what the person said, Kodak Black did not plead guilty to bape. That is not my opinion, and I'm not defending Kodak, but that is a fact, right? Like we covered, he pled guilty to lesser charges of first-degree assault. With that being the case, the allegations Kodak had against him, meaning the actual description of what he allegedly did, that is in fact bape, because forcing yourself on a teenage girl, in what world is it not? I want to go over some more tweets before I continue this conversation and connect it to Kendrick. Context is very important, so we got to cover some more ground before we move on. This other tweet, which had 4,000 retweets and 29,000 likes, said, J. Cole and Kendrick going out of their way to keep Kodak around is all anyone should need about the depth of their artistry or care for, in quotation marks, the people. So now we've covered all the necessary groundwork. You know what the backlash is about. Kodak Black is of course the reason for the backlash Kendrick is receiving because of his questionable past, specifically as it relates to what he allegedly did to that teenage girl in that hotel room in South Carolina. He ended up pleading guilty in this case, and Kendrick co-signed this guy. What does that say about him? That is what the backlash is about. So after Kendrick featured Kodak on his album, a noticeable amount of people are looking at Kendrick sideways because of this. First of all, let me just say this off the rip. please do not, and I repeat, do not try to hold Kendrick Lamar accountable for the actions of another man. That's what I've been seeing a lot of on Twitter. Kendrick is getting held accountable for some shit Kodak Black did, and I think that's wrong. That being the case, this backlash does have some validity to it, because here's the thing, it does bring up the accountability aspect of the rap industry. Are we holding these rappers accountable for the shit they do? Are rappers holding each other accountable for the shit they do? You guys saw that video I dropped the other day, right? Holding rappers accountable. Since they took away the dislikes on YouTube, you can't see it, but I can. And one thing I can tell you about that video is it did have more dislikes than my usual videos, so it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, because hip-hop fans have a very hard time holding their favorites accountable for their actions. Hip-hop fans aside though, like I said a second ago, are rappers holding each other accountable? Generally speaking, not very much, I'll say that. As for this Kendrick backlash, some people are looking at K-Dot featuring Kodak on his album as he's given an abuser a piece of his platform. Why would he do that? Another aspect of the backlash is this. A lot of people feel like Kendrick Lamar is trying to redeem Kodak Black despite his dodgy past. As for that, this is my take on it. I think Kendrick put Kodak Black on his album for a very specific reason, and that reason has nothing to do with him trying to redeem him, but it has everything to do with his own agenda, okay? Kendrick's agenda, which is the message he's trying to portray in this album. Just to go a little deeper, he has this record on the album called Mother I Sober, where he's discussing his own experience with sexual assault. On the song, he's talking about how that's affected his family's mental health, his mental health, and how it's changed him as a person. He also connects his experience to the rap game and directly addresses the trauma a lot of rappers are suppressing that stem from being touched as a child. I was gonna read 2 verses from this song, but I'll just do one just so I don't have to make this video longer than it has to be. So let's get straight into it and jump into the 3rd verse, where Kendrick says, "I know the secrets, every other rapper is sexually abused. I see him daily bearing the pain and chains and tattoos. So listen close before you start to pass judgment on how we move. Learn how we cope whenever his uncle had to walk him from school. His anger grows deep in misogyny. This is post-traumatic, black families, and a sodomy. Today's still active. So I set free myself from all the guilt that I thought I made. So I set free my mother, all the hurt that she titled shame. So I set free my cousin, chaotic, from my mother's pain. I hope Hakeem, that's baby Keem, made you proud, cause you ain't die in vain. So I set free the power of Whitney, may she heal us all. So I set free our children, may good karma keep them with God. So I set free the hearts filled with hatred, keep our bodies sacred. As I set free all you abusers, this is transformation." So I hope you paid attention to that last part, because that last part I believe ties it all together. Kendrick, I don't think, put Kodak Black on his album to right his wrongs. The way I see it, I think he put Kodak on here to make an example out of him so he could paint a picture and deliver his message. Specifically this message right here on his particular record. This is the outro track on the album after all, so that should tell you a lot. We gotta address this one very hypocritical aspect of all this backlash Kendrick is receiving, and it's the fact that this is selective outrage. I'm saying that because Lotto, who I've spoken about in the past, she's of course a female rapper out of Atlanta for anyone who doesn't know. But Lotto on her album, which dropped back in March, had a Kodak Black feature on it, but I didn't hear anyone say anything about that. Also, Lotto back in December dropped a remix to Super Gremlin, a Kodak Black record, but no one said a damn thing. So is this not selective outrage? How are we gonna keep this energy towards Kendrick Lamar but let Lotto slide right under the radar? This is what we call a double standard, which a lot of people aren't really ready to address. This is one big reason why I can't take this backlash too seriously. We're not really keeping the same energy towards everybody here, which makes me question the purpose of going at Kendrick like this. If we're gonna hold Kendrick Lamar to this he's enabling an abuser standard, we gotta keep the same energy towards Lotto, but that's gonna fly over a lot of people's heads. It is what it is. But yeah, people trying to cancel Kendrick, not something I thought I'd ever see. You guys know my stance on this. Do you have any thoughts on this conversation? Like we covered, Kendrick featuring Kodak on his album had a noticeable amount of people on Twitter upset because of Kodak's past, specifically the story involving him and that teenage girl in South Carolina. What do you guys think about the backlash Kendrick is receiving? Is it justified or nah? Definitely let me know in the comment section below, and like this video, like this video, like this video. Let's talk about this.